Good morning, children. Student, today we will be starting the new chapter of your class 12 business study, and that will be controlling. Chapter number 8, the last function of management, or we can say the fifth function of management. In this, as you can see the content here, what we are going to read here, that will be the meaning of controlling, the importance of controlling, the relationship between planning and controlling. This we will not cover because this is deleted from your syllabus, and the step in the process of controlling and the different technique which a manager use for the purpose of controlling things into the organization. So let's start with the definition of controlling. So student, as we all know that controlling is a function which came after the function of directing, or this is the fifth function of management. The first function was planning, where we try to fill the gap between present and future. The second function was organizing, where once we set the target into the first function, that was planning function, we try to arrange the resources, or we try to arrange the structures for the implementation of work. And then we reach to the third function, that was staffing, where we appoint the people who are the one who's really want to, or who are the one who's going to work for achieving the objective. After that we reach to the fourth function, that was directing, where we try to create the leadership qualities by giving supervisions, by providing training, and including all the four elements of directing. Once that is done, we reach to the last stage, or we reach to the fifth function of management, that was controlling. Now controlling is what? Controlling is one of the important function of manager. In order to see that the plan result from subordinate, a manager need to exercise effective control over the activity of the subordinate. It basically, we can say that controlling basically means ensuring that the activity into the organizations are performed as per the plan. Means whatever we have decided into the plan, according to that the organization activities are going on or not, that insurance is given by a function of controlling. Now controlling also ensure that the organization resources are used effectively and efficiently for the achievement of predetermined goal. It means controlling function, a manager check that the objective of organization, these objective which was decided into the first function of planning, was able to achieve effectively on time, efficiently, with using optimum utilization of resources within the predetermined goal. It means controlling is basically a goal oriented function. Why a manager need to control things into the organization, so that the goal or the target of organization can be achieved. Now when we talk about controlling function of a management, we say that controlling function is a management function which is pervasive function. We say pervasive function because it is not a function which is going to be utilized into in one level only. This is a function which will be utilized into a different level, like primary level, secondary level, all level, top, middle, lower level, and it will be a function which is going to utilize into each and every activity of a business and non-business organization also. That is the reason anything or any function which is utilized into business, non-business, or in all the activities are called as a pervasive function. So controlling is basically a pervasive function. Now student, when we define controlling, we say controlling is the fifth function or the last function of management. But this is something which is misunderstood most of the time, that controlling function with is a last function, or we can say the fifth function of management, but it is not the end of the function of management, because once the controlling function finished, it bring back us to the management cycle to the planning function. Means once the controlling function is over from a manager side, then the manager has to again go through with the planning function. So controlling function, we will not say that this will be the end of a function of management. Once the controlling function is done, the management has to go through with back to the planning function. Now let's see what are the different importance a controlling function give. Now the first advantage of a controlling function is it helps an organization to accomplishing its goal. It means what a controlling function is doing. A controlling function basically measure the progress of the organizational goal They measure the what planning has been done, what objective has been decided into the planning, what was the standard decided, and what actually is going to be achieved. They measure the actual performance, they see the deviations, or in case there are any deviation, any changes into the standard decided and the actual objective which is achieved, they used to take the corrective actions for that. So that is the reason we say that controlling will help a organization to achieve its goal. Next is judging accuracy of standard. Now, a good controlling system not only see that we are able to achieve the standard which we decide into the planning function, right? But they also say, or they also verify whether the standard which was decided into the planning function of management are accurate or not, or if they feel that the standard which was decided into the planning function was not reliable, they used to modify or they used to revise the standard so that the employee can able to work according to the correct standard. Now, the third advantage of controlling is that making efficient use of resources. Now, by the help of controlling, a manager can exercise or manager can stop wasting of resources or spoiling of resources by the employee side. When employee are knowing that their activity is going to be checked or their activity is already predetermined, they need to get this much of goal within that resources only, so they will be efficiently using the resources and there will be less and less wastage of resources. The next advantage of controlling is improving employee motivation. Now, a good control system ensures that the employee know well in advance what they are expected to do. In controlling what we are doing, controlling is the fifth function of management. In the first function of management planning, we are deciding a standard. Deciding a standard means we are deciding a goal or deciding a target for which we have to work using different function of management. In the controlling function, we are measuring that actual performance, we are comparing actual performance with the standard performance. So this is what basically is happening here. We are trying to improving the employee motivation. Why? Because the employee know that what is their target, what they have to achieve. So they will be working according to their only. They will be knowing that if they get the target which was decided by the manager or which was decided by the owner, they are going to be appreciated by this. So they get motivated to work betterly. The next importance of controlling is ensuring order and discipline. This say that if the things are going to be controlled within the by the manager within the organization, it will create an atmosphere of order and discipline. They know, the employee will be knowing that they are going to be supervised, they are going to be controlled, they are going to be evaluated by the manager. So they will be honest for their work and they will be honest for their activities also. The next advantage is facilitating coordination in actions. Now, a very important role which controlling did is that it provide direction to all the activities and efforts for achieving organizational goal. For example, in an organization, there are different departments which work. Production department, selling department, marketing department, HRA department. So these organizations or these departments have their own goals. But there is one common goal of organization, that is to earn profit. So coordination help or the controlling help to create coordination within all the department head so that they all can work for achieving the common goal of the organization. Now, with certain advantage, students, the controlling also have certain disadvantage. Now, for example, no one want to be controlled by somebody else. No one want to see that somebody else is observing their performance, somebody else is checking their performance. So that is the reason with this attitude, the controlling face certain disadvantages, certain drawbacks also. Let's see this. The first drawback of controlling is that difficult in setting quantitative standard. Now, when we talk about controlling, what is basically done in the process of controlling is that the objective which was decided into the planning process or the standard which was decided in the planning process, they are going to be compared with the actual objective which was achieved. And then according to then, the deviations are going to be taken out. After analyzing, we are going to take the corrective actions over the deviations. Now, in case of controlling, it's very difficult to control or to see the things which are in a qualitative manners. We can be able to set quantitative things, but difficult in setting quantitative things are very, like, I can take an example that we can easily able to control the things or a production which are going to be in a form of numerical, in a form of quantitative. We know that we have decided in a planning function that in per day we will be producing 1000 unit, so this is a quantitative standard. But there are certain organization which does not have a quantitative standard, which have a qualitative standard, and they feel difficulty to have quantitative standard. So whenever there is a quantity, whenever there is a unit which is going to be in a qualitative manner, it's going to have a difficulty for a controlling or for a manager to control the qualitative nature of a quantity. Next is little control on external factors. Now, controlling is basically what? Controlling is basically judging other, comparing the performance, just to check that the things are going according to the instruction or according to the plan. Now, it's not possible because an enterprise cannot control the external factors. In chapter number 3, business environment, we have discussed about the internal or external factors, where we have discussed that the internal factors can be controlled by a manager, but it's very difficult to control. It's impossible to control all the external factor in all the label. We have discussed about the external factor of social, technological, political, economical and legal. So this is another drawback of controlling, that the external factor of a business cannot be controlled. Next is resistance from employee. Now, even the employee who are working into the organization, they don't like that somebody is going to restrict their freedom. So this again have the another drawback of controlling, that the employee does not like if somebody is going to restrict their freedom. Now, costly affair. If we are going to control, if a manager is going to control the employee and they work according to the plan, they will require, or the organization will require, a qualified person whom they have to give a good salary. So what is happening here? A controlling process increase the expenditures, time and efforts of a top level people also. Now sometime what happened, that the salary which we are giving to the manager who is going to control and supervise thing for the business is much, and the profit which we are getting, which we are deriving after the controlling is less. So that is the reason we say it's a costly affair. Now, next, relationship between planning and controlling is deleted from your syllabus. So we will be not discussing about this, and today we'll discuss about the controlling process. Now, whenever we say controlling, there are certain steps which we have to follow, which a manager has to follow in a controlling process. So the first step is setting performance of standards. Setting performance of standard basically say that the first step in the controlling process is to set up the performance standard. Standards setting basically means standards are the criteria again which the actual performance is going to be measured. So we can say standards are basically working as a benchmark toward which an organization strive to work. Now, setting performance standard basically means this is done into the first function of management, where the owner has to decide a goal, where the owner has to decide a target for which the employee need to work. Now, at the time of deciding standard, target or goal, it can be in both manner. It can be as a form of quantitative also, in a number form also, or as a form of qualitative also. For example, if a owner decide that within one day this much unit need to be produced, 10 unit need to be produced, we can say this is a quantitative form of standard. If an organization has an objective to increase the quality, to increase the qualification of the employee, to improve the motivation or to improve the goodwill of level of the employees, this will be a qualitative standard. So the first step in the process of controlling is to set up the performance standard, means to set up the objective and goal of. The second is measurement of actual performance. Now once the goal has been set up in the first function of planning, the second is to check or to measure what exactly actually the employee or the organization has achieved. Now performance should be measured an objective and reliable manner. There are several techniques for measurement of performance. Now, like suppose in the first step of setting a standard, the organization owner has decided that within 1 week they are supposed to produce 5,000 units. Right? Now this is a standard, this is the goal. Now the second will be the measuring the actual. Now once the 1 week is completed, the manager will be measuring that how much actually they have achieved. So this will be called as measurement of actual performance. Once the actual performance has been measured, then it will be the third step in the controlling process, where the manager will be comparing the actual performance with the standard performance. They will, in the comparison time, the manager has to be very careful that the unit in which they will be decided, they have decided the standard performance, the actual performance is also supposed to be measured in the same unit. Once the comparison has been done, after that, in case there are any deviation, it means if we have decided to produce 5,000 unit as a standard performance, or if we only able to produce 4,000 unit, so this 1,000 deviation reason is supposed to be taken out from the manager's side. And the last step will be taking corrective action. Taking corrective action basically means this is basically a process in which a manager will try to take out the correct action to rectify the deviation which is not acceptable from the organization side.